Hi everyone and welcome back to Mina Wonders. So today I am bringing you the first episode of season 2 of Let's Fight. If you've never seen a Let's Fight video from me before, basically it's a series where I interview / participate in an active discussion with friends, colleagues, and certain people from the literary community that I know or have reached out to be able to discuss certain topics that I think are definitely worth looking into as readers, as writers, as people who influence what people are reading, and also as people who create and produce in that line of literary production. So today's video is a very dynamic response to a video that Moon from Moonlightscrawls made on the EPub reader discussion that's been happening on Twitter. I won't go into the full details because I think that Moon definitely was able to surmise everything and tackle everything and discuss these issues. So if you want to see what video I'm referencing, I'm going to be leaving that in the description below. Go check it out. So today I'm going to be talking to Mina Viasquera. Mina is a contemporary romance and young adult writer, and she also is one of the key players in literary self-publishing in the romance sphere, and she's the one who's really spearheaded Romance Class, which is a publishing outfit that deals like so freaking well in community building, in writing for the digital medium, and distributing there in a way that authors are really able to get good support without, you know, exploiting their audience or without selling books at a crazy high price. And so this conversation that I'm having with her is really about how ebooks are seen, why they're important, and why, yes, even if you only read EPubs or only read ebooks or only read Wattpad, you are still a legitimate reader, and it's important that you have access to literature. So without further ado, here's my video with Mina.
Hi, Mina. Good morning.
Hi, Mina. Thank you for inviting me to talk about this thing that I was apparently passionate about.
Yes. And thanks for agreeing to be on my channel today. So, for everyone else's reference, I invited Mina to have this discussion on EPUB reading or ebook reading in general, and just like the way that it's viewed and the different opportunities there, because she she posted something on Facebook last week, and maybe I'll like put the text here or something. But basically, it was talking about how there is a big audience for digital reading, and it's something that can sustain creators. It's not just like, oh, there's like some disembodied ebook somewhere out here that no one is reading. And it was also talking about how there's a need to normalize these authorized sort of sources of digital reading, because it's also a form of accessibility. And there is sort of this, I guess, like prevalent conception now or misconception now that the old school books or like physical books are still somehow superior to digital reading. So yeah. So I guess
Yes.
first I'd like to, maybe you'd like to just like elaborate a bit about like your experience with digital reading and the way that it's perceived, etc.
Okay, so that post comes sometimes. I'm not just an author, I'm also a publisher. And at least as far as the Philippine publishing and literary like circles go, I'm usually attending events to speak about digital stuff. So that's actually an issue that I noticed over the years, because I and a few other people who are associated with digital are always like asked to speak to a group of people who, and it's like year after year, it's always as if they're encountering digital for the first time, like in in year after year. So it's there actually was a year, like after 5 years I stopped doing that. Like I stopped attending conferences where there was what yet again a what is digital, what is why should you
Mm.
be on digital. I think after 10 years, it's difficult to be delivering the same parang basic message,
Mm.
while the rest of the world has moved on, and not just moved on, but in the 10 or more years that we've been talking about this, people have actually, diba, entire platforms have been built, entire empire, media empires have been created. People have become super successful as in starting in digital. And it feels so sad to be attending a conference or a panel where, yet again, the audience and also the panel don't seem to be aware that the entire world has moved on, has seemingly moved on. And okay lang kasi if okay lang if the conversation was actually uh something exciting happening in the traditional or print or non-digital
Mm.
space, but usually it's about like how it's so slow, or how there's a problem with access, or how there's a problem with distribution, or how to break into publishing. and and it's almost like every of all of these problems, like the answer is digital, like we said it 10 years ago, and yet we're here again. So that post happens from me once in a while. And it's usually like after attending a panel or watching a series of events. And since the pandemic started, there have been so many digital panels and probably a lot more conferences online that I
Mm.
probably would have not seen before, but now I saw because it was available online. And I probably saw a lot more of those conversations again. And uh, it's frustrating because after a while, it's almost like this isn't even what we should be talking about because it's over. Like it's over. Every problem, every problem that has been brought up in the panel has been solved by a new thing that was based on digital, was based on a mobile app or something. and
Mm.
and it's like no one in the audience or in the panel is saying it because I think they would rather not acknowledge it. And then tuloy, diba? It's like this black hole now of people who are talking about a problem that has already been solved. So it feels
Mm.
sad, really. So it feels sad. And the thing about me posting, I think I ended it with how we've unnecessarily like lost a generation of people who could have been reading us. Because the truth is, and I'm seeing it more and more because on my author Facebook account where I posted that, there are people who follow me because I met them on Wattpad, and I met them as students because I probably gave a talk in their school. And then there are people that I met in conferences. So these are publishing and literary people. And there's a divide that I can
Mm.
clearly see that they don't interact. So the young people that I met on a very popular, thriving digital platform for reading don't interact with the people who are supposed to be making the decisions for publishing and for literary communities. And um, one space is thriving and the other space is talking about how they are not able to maximize distribution and where are the readers. So it's so weird to see those in my feed, in the same feed,
Mm.
kasi you
Mm.
can see where it's been lost na talaga, like an entire generation has moved on essentially. And yeah, so that was it. So that was just me posting na wait, okay. That has happened or is already happening.
Speaking of Wattpad, na because I'm in grad school for creative writing,
Mm-hmm.
yun, for my MFA in creative writing, and something that our teachers, or sorry, nilaglag ko yung teachers ko, but something that my teachers always sort of talk about or parang are a little bit bitter about, I guess, is that there's no readership I guess, for for more literary work. Somehow, I'm not sure why, there's this like reluctance to think about the fact that maybe there doesn't need to be that divide. 'Di ba? Na parang, I mean, I understand naman na siguro, I mean, like it's different work for different moods or different mind like head spaces na parang,
Mm-hmm.
if you're looking for something a little bit more plot driven, you go for this, you go for that. But there has been this strange parang relegation of Wattpad and ebooks to the space na parang, oh, it's popular, but is it good? Parang ganon. Nandun ako
and
minsan na,
also
oh,
and
nakakainis.
also with
Mm.
literary as good. So
Right, right.
yeah,
Exactly.
but
And
I'm sure it's not
it's so
all.
strange.
As
It's
with
not.
anything, yeah, as with anything, there's gonna be good and bad.
It's weird because there's like a mistaking of, basta parang there's like a demonizing of the medium then. I feel like it really alienates people and kind of discourages them from reading from reading those like traditional type of texts, and it also discourages people who are in the production mode naman na parang, I don't know, like right now, honestly, like as someone I guess who is sort of in that space, I don't want to publish my work like in that traditional medium. Na I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to be one of those people with like, a book na parang 40 pesos na lang yung worth that's like in a bin in, in power books na nakasale. Like, I don't know, parang, but then like at the same time naman, I also feel a strange pressure, even from people, let's say, who are my age na classmates, let's say in masters or something, na parang, really? Parang you're gonna publish an ebook? Like, may ISBN ba yan? Ganyan. Na, I mean, I understand, like, ano din, parang, I guess, the want for something to have some sort of, parang standard, whatever, or parang it's satisfying, I guess, to see that or to have that. Pero at the same time, like, talaga ba? Like, is it really more important than actually having people engage with you and having your work not just be in a vacuum?
You yeah, I mean all that. I was actually gonna ask when you messaged me. I was gonna ask like how do people actually think about it these days, like in maybe in that space, like
Mm,
kasi the part of my post about normalizing the support of these authorized sources is coming from me actually teaching people how to publish.
mm,
So uh, so being asked to speak about ebooks and publishing and self-publishing of course comes with its own like set of judgments
mhm,
that I usually see people ask so many questions about the publishing and then end up not publishing because they want the approval or the
mhm.
endorsement or not even the expense because they could afford it but they didn't want to just have done it by themselves, and that's I understand parts of it. And then of course as time goes on, and again as I said, I was doing a version of this talk over and over, and sometimes
Mhm.
the same people are in the audience, like I recognize them already. They are regulars of publishing talks and ask very similar questions. And then I realized nga that what they're looking for is some sort of sign that they have made it
Mhm.
that and maybe publishing digital was too easy, or maybe publishing ebooks or publishing it themselves was not the way that they wanted to have made that step because
Mhm.
they maybe they can't tell for themselves if it's ready, so that's fine. But the thing is, again, with time, like the world has moved on and so the funny thing, like for example, about that's why I said we have to normalize this, because the complaint about, so una, the complaint about readership, we Wattpad and pretty much the internet and all these statistics saying that Filipinos are the top social media users and the top readers of anything. And if you go to any comment section on anything that has to be read, there's so many Filipinos on it. The internet has
That's so
proven
true.
that we read. so so it was really not it was not that we were not reading. So that's proven. We read all the time, and so it was access pala all along, 'di ba? Like
Mm-mm.
suddenly it was entertainment or education or whatever, that had to be something that they could access, and maybe free data was one of the things that needed to be hurdled, or again, because I think for a time Wattpad was free, with, like, you didn't get charged data, or you could enroll in some, you could subscribe in some telecom package that gave you Wattpad, only Wattpad. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there were promos like that before. So, and people were telling me about Wattpad in the old days, that they would go to net cafes to, and that's why they get angry at authors who didn't update at a particular time, because they would have gone, if they knew the schedule, they would go to the internet cafe and wait. So it was a, anyway, the internet proved that we read, that Pinoys read. The other thing that I was trying to get people to recognize was that, we were reading but not paying for it. The
Mm-hmm.
we were, and we needed to, even the people who claimed to love to read, who claimed to be Filipino creators and wanted to support, and told people in a very patronizing way to support Filipino creators, were not paying for Filipino content.
Right.
uh yeah, so it was like, buy my stuff, but I'm not gonna buy anyone else's.
The thing right now, that's kind of becoming, I guess, sort of a talking point in these discussions is the price also and what people can afford. And I think that that's
Mm,
something then na parang, especially in the Filipino audience, kasi ang weird talaga. Kasi on the one hand, I understand yung plight din ng mga readers na parang we don't really have that much money. Parang a lot of us aren't making that much, ganyan. But then at the same time, like you also see those people naman buy mga books by foreign authors and physical books, which would be like pretty,
a lot
you
more
know,
expensive. Yeah.
yeah, pretty expensive and then have
Mhm.
to pay for shipping. So part of me thinks na maybe it is partly, syempre, like budget, etc. And undeniable naman yun. But on the other hand, there's also this kind of bias pa rin na parang, oh, kasi foreign author, so it should be worth this much, like 700. And then if it's like a Filipino author, oh, like 250, like that's so expensive. Like, so, yun, parang may ganun pa ring dichotomy. And then on the other hand naman though, I've also encountered some people who are parang trying to set up these digital online bookstores, ganyan, na super taga din naman yung prices nila of
Mhm.
mga ebooks. Na sometimes I'm like, really? That's not how much it would cost if you buy it like on Kindle or even, parang anywhere. Like even I follow
Yeah.
some authors kasi that I've met like in the
Y-
fanfic world and then I just buy the PDF from them like
Yeah.
directly na parang na parang wala pa silang
Exactly.
platform. So
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. So we tried selling also. So that was another thing we tried to do, when I had energy, and when there was no pandemic, was we tried to be more visible in selling fairs. So because that was a different audience, but the truth is that was really like more of a community building exercise than a
mhm.
sales exercise. I mean, it was really like meeting people so they could see who we were, and
Mm.
but yes, we experienced that also, na because we were romance, and we were, like, we were very clear. It was actually a selling event in Comiket. We tried Comiket 1 year, and that was, and uh, we were the probably the only romance novel book table there, and because it was a general audience that was mostly indie but not genre romance,
Mhm.
we got a lot of that. We got a lot of people who were willing to talk to us and ask about the books and look at it, but not actually buy it, and also not actually read it, but they wanted to know about us. So that was weird. That was a weird experience, because I didn't and it actually, like, afterwards we were talking in a restaurant after, and we were like, this was an experience, but we had to be about the books, rather
Mhm.
than we had to create, an experience where it had to be about the books and not about meeting these women who were manning the table and talking to them, but not actually reading them or buying their books. So that was when we actually decided to have our own event.
Mm,
And we're very blatantly romance and packed it with stuff that we enjoyed. And true enough, people who weren't into that didn't go. and and we uh and it's not about making people feel unwelcome, but it was
mm,
because we felt evaluated and unwelcome in a more general all genre space. So what I wanted to do was create something where if you weren't into that, you wouldn't even go. And then it
right.
became safer for everyone to enjoy their feelings, to enjoy to enjoy romance, to enjoy what it is so that they really wanted. And part of that was recognizing that yes, we tried print. I mean, I don't charge an expensive print edition because I know that it's really for people. I make it for people who want print specifically. But yeah, so we did that. So it was a wonderful experience actually selling to a community and then meeting people in that community and then actually doing things for them. So
Mm,
we learned what they could afford. We learned, but it's also because we read it. So I don't this is also the thing that I read the most. So I'm very aware of everything. Everything has been designed based on how certain groups read and what they can afford. So I always have uh like I always have an ebook edition that's like $1 or $2 before it's released.
I think that's like such a ano like a smart way to do it. And I feel like there's this thing that people don't really see yet, where if there's like if an interruption happens in the flow flow of support,
Mm-hmm.
everybody kind of loses their ability to support. Na on the one hand, 'di ba, parang if you price, and this is something that I see then with a lot of people. I don't know if it's like pressure then kasi siguro from like their communities or their families to make, parang make a legitimate like amount of profit from whatever it is. Um
Mm-hmm.
yeah, where parang like they'll put up an ebook, sige, parang they'll give it a try, etc. But then the price will just be like so outrageous. Na even ako like, parang I buy books on Kindle, pero like I would not pay that much for for that.
Is there because there's like a time frame? Like if it's is it 1 year or is it the first month? Is it that?
Hmm. No, I think it's more of I don't know. I think it's more of parang value. Like I don't know. Like I know some people na parang like magkano lang ba yan? Parang ganon. And even
Oh
even
yes.
yeah, parang ganon na 'di ba na parang they feel like it'll feel better if they're able to tell people na oh like my book is I don't know, like this much, ganyan. So I don't know. So it's so strange, and they're not also willing to give things for free or at a low price kahit sa simula pa lang. Which I feel like they should be, and I feel like they should know kasi they also ask for that.
I learned from Wattpad that way because now the thing I did differently in 2020 was I actually started serializing my book on Wattpad even
Mm,
before it dropped on Amazon.
right.
So that's like a midway. Uh, that's not what Wattpad authors do very successfully. What they do kasi diba, is they serialize as they write
Mm-hmm.
and build their following over time over
Right.
maybe like 80, 100 chapters. And then when they choose to release a book, it has had the benefit of time and readership
Mm,
and a growing like fan base. And anything you do at a certain point will make you a lot of money if you make the right call, I think, because it's there. You did the work of building the readership for it. And then so that's what some of my friends have done who are indie. um they did the work, they were updating regularly, and then when they know that they're about to finish the book, they drop it on Amazon, and suddenly overnight it's it's a lot of sales because
Mm.
these are people who were supporting you when they were getting the content for free. And it's not even everybody, so that's what we discovered. It's not everybody who will buy, not
Right.
everyone reading on Wattpad will buy the book, but enough people will. If you have a large enough pool of people reading for free, the percentage of people who will end up supporting you again or buying it increases. So that's great. And that's a win regardless. So what I did was sort of like a mid, because I don't write that way. That's too dangerous and risky for me and brave. I cannot serialize like something not knowing how it ends. But but what I did was I tried to do a version of that where the book was finished. I had
Mm.
selected a release day, and I sort of planned chapter drops on Wattpad that would lead up to the publication of the book. And what readers could do was they could skip ahead. So if they bought the book on release day, they would actually get to the ending first,
Mm. Oh,
before
that's
the
so
others
that's so exciting.
before the other people reading it free. But they could still actually read it free
Mm.
if they were, if it was okay. It's okay. But again, I've done a version of this talk with a class in Ateneo, and I describe it as again, I don't have targets. I am my own publisher.
Mm.
I don't have a boss telling me to that I
Right.
should meet a certain sales target. That's me, for me to decide, and that's why I'm able to do this with this kind of flexibility. And I did that, and it paid off for me. It was the best. Like, it was the best pre-order, because it's, I mean, sales over a year and sales over a book's lifetime is different from pre-orders. So in
Mm.
terms of like pre-orders, that was my best pre-order ever. Like, in the 10 years that I'd been publishing, it was the best. It was my best pre-order. And so I can't not do that now. There is still a way to read it free, but I get to decide when to pull it. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I did for the book last year, and what I'm doing for the book this year.
Talking about what you were saying about how you'll still put the whole thing on Wattpad, but then you can choose when to pull it, and then people will still like read it given that timeline. That's interesting to me because I feel like that concept, I guess, of having just a set period of time to read something kind of mimics something that the Philippines has also always like been looking for, which is like libraries. That you don't necessarily have to
Mm-hmm.
own a book, right? You just need to borrow it, like for
Yes.
a certain period of time. And yeah, so wala lang. Like, that's so interesting. And I feel like meron ngang ano like there's so like so much potential online, like to do that through digital. Na parang you can lend
Yes.
stories. Like you can do
Yes.
that.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So I think it's the first time that someone has connected like Wattpad to library, and you're right. You're right. That's it. I mean, that's it. Because when you mentioned in your outline that you wanted to talk about libraries, I was thinking, okay, because again, yeah, this in these panels and in these discussions, libraries is brought up as a problem that needs to be like build libraries or assign like or build libraries. Or but my problem with that, I mean, it's a lovely concept. I
Mm.
love the idea, and I wish we had grown up with it. But I wish that we had it. But I, again, the answer is digital. um my books, so many libraries with advanced enough or big enough library systems are part of something called Overdrive, which is an ebook lending service that is for libraries only and library patrons. And it's
Mm.
something that my ebooks, because I publish digitally, are, it's as easy as ticking a box that opt in your book into Overdrive. And I remind people to do that. And suddenly, in one click, all of my books have the potential to be purchased by any library within the Overdrive system, which is so many libraries in the US and the world, but not here. There are like two Overdrive libraries here. And then of course there were opportunities to sell to libraries before, but I've been told but as indies that couldn't issue official receipts, they weren't buying from us. So even if there was a really nice library, if they can't buy you because
Mm,
it's still that still doesn't guarantee you access. So libraries weren't necessarily the solution. It's an expensive it's an expensive nice idea, but when you operationalize it, they probably wouldn't be buying from you. But we learned that when I opted into Overdrive, and I encouraged other authors to opt into Overdrive, because it takes library acquisition is an institutional decision when they
right.
decide to acquire a book.
Okay, I think actually we've covered almost everything that I wanted to talk about today. Maybe just to end, I'd like to ask you if there are any recommendations you can give, like to those who want to read more ebooks and those who want to to write or like yeah publish to the
Okay,
digital medium.
a few recommendations. And these recommendations change over time. So like I'm giving these recommendations as of 2021. Some things could come up, or some things could go away, and then we have to move on and change again. But as a creator, please be on Amazon Kindle store. As a reader, please buy from the Amazon Kindle store, with the caveat that it's not the best, it's the biggest. So I recommend that people be there. It's not the best in terms of royalties anymore, and it is like being in a super crowded marketplace. But you have to be there. So be there. If you want to build a platform more, and have more flexibility in terms of how people support you, if you already have a following, if you're a creator, be on Gumroad. So Gumroad.com is a place where you can put up your own storefront and sell digital goods. And then you can set your price. They also have something called pay what you want. So you can set a minimum price for
Wow.
anything, but your fan, your reader, your supporter can overpay you or pay more, based on what they think it's worth. We've done fundraising that way. We have put up like digital anthologies where we set a minimum price, but have people decide, because all proceeds, for example, will be given to a cause. You can give more. You can give more and get this product. So we did that this year and last year, because there's always something to be raising funds for.
Right.
And and people usually pay like 2 to 3 to 4 times more than the minimum that you set. So when I see, for example, fundraising happening, and it's a physical good, and there's a set price, or it's a digital good and a set price, I almost want to like tell the tell the person, do it this way, because people are willing to pay more. Another thing that I've been recommending people to be on is Google Play. So I was told years ago to be on Google Play, because and I didn't want to, because like I didn't buy books from Google Play. I didn't want to be in a retailer space that I wasn't familiar with. But in the pandemic, I don't know when it happened, but probably because of the pandemic and Gcash becoming big, Google Play started accepting Gcash as a
Wow.
method of payment. So imagine that your book can be bought from an authorized legitimate retailer using Gcash. So as a Pinoy creator, you should be on Google Play, I think, at this time. Wattpad is super huge. I think people should try to be there. It's not gonna be. I think it's now a thing where you're not going to be super popular just because everyone is on Wattpad,
Wattpad.
But it's gotten to the point that people are so familiar with it, especially young people, that if you need young people to read anything, you should put it on Wattpad and and just label it properly, and then tell people that it's there. So I have books, for example, that I know teens are reading for school, and I put it there on Wattpad, the entire book, rather than have them message me and ask how to buy, because that's so unfair.
Mm.
That's so
Right.
unfair for a student to have to order a book from the author, and it's like the school assigned it. There's no The
Mm.
school should have been providing copies. Again, it's like making it easier for the readers of anything, for readers. Just get used to, yeah, and because again it's about reading EPub, right? Or
Yeah.
reading ebooks. If it's not the Kindle itself, maybe the Kindle app or any of the ebook reader apps that actually allow you to experience the book the way that more people are now reading. And because some books, for example, like you mentioned, buying PDFs from people,
Right.
and they're laid out as if they're going to be printed, and they're not the best experience when read on a device.
Okay. Thank you, Mina. I think that's very helpful advice also, because I know that there are lots of people who watch this channel that are looking for ways to do that.
Exactly. It's I mean, we were everywhere, and so participative, and not and maybe not paying for it all the time, but
Right, right.
but we
Which
were
is
there,
fine,
and we're
honestly.
there, and it's fine. It's totally
Any things
fine.
you want to shout out?
So
Yeah.
I've been talking about my books, and romance community. So just visit minaviasquera.com and romanceclassbooks.com if anyone wants to learn anything else about that.
Okay. Thanks, Mina. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for all the questions.
Thanks for answering them.
Thank you guys for watching that conversation with me and Mina. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you have any comments, questions, violent reactions even, please leave them in the description bar below. And again, don't forget to check out Mina as well. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you. Bye!